Today we're going to be working on a 2018 Lexus ES 300H, the hybrid. We're going to be putting a V-line in this vehicle, so we're going to need to remove the radio and the display up here. So we will go ahead and go over the steps for that. So the first thing we need to do is get the radio out. To do that, we're going to take off this trim right here below the AC panel. So we've got a pry tool here, and we're just going to slowly pry around it. You can kind of pull on it when you get some of it loose. It's just 5 clips, 2 retention clips right here. As you can see, these are the clips here, and the 2 there that go into the slot. Once we've got that removed, we need to take off this trim right here. Same thing with the pry tool. You just want to get below it and pull towards you. And once you've got all those loose, you can pull it out. And now that we've got that trim loose, we need to take off this piece right here. This one can be a little difficult, but main thing is using the pry tool and pulling towards you, and you'll feel as the clips release. Once you've got that loose, there's going to be a plug right on top by the clock. Just press in the tab, and that'll come out. And I'll show you on this side. This is where the plug is, right up top. And then as you can see, we've got our clips, all around. Biggest one that might get hung is going to be this one down here, so just make sure you use your pry tool right next to it and pull towards you. Now that we've got those loose, we've got the radio exposed. There's going to be a 10 mil up here, over here, and then 2 underneath. So we'll go ahead and remove those. And we'll do the 2 on the bottom. Alright, now we've got all 4 of those loose, we can pull the radio out. It is held in by the same yellow clips we saw before. So you just want to grab on each side and pull. And once you've done that, the radio's out. And you can go ahead and start unplugging everything. Alright, now that we've got all those loose, the last one left is the 59 pin, the one that we're going to be using. To get that loose, there's a little clip that kind of keeps the whole locking mechanism in place. You can use a pry tool and go in from the side. So we'll kind of show you that. There we go. And so what you're doing with the pry tool is when this is closed, it'll be down like this, and you just take your pry tool and you want to push in this right here, and then push up. And you'll feel it unclip and it'll come right out. So now that we got that removed, we'll go ahead and move on to the display next. For this one, you're going to want a flat head, or in this case, we're going to be using a pick tool. This one's a 90-degree pick. And we're just going to go in up here. There's going to be 2 spots that have these clips in them. And you're just going to want to get your either flat head or pick tool in between the top and the bottom piece until you get it to pop loose. And here's what those look like. So when it's closed, this will be pushed down like that, and once you pop it loose, it'll come out like this, and then you can pull it out. Now that we got those loose, we're going to take our pry tool and we're going to go around the top here. You're going to want to push down and kind of towards you to undo the top. And once you've got the top loose, and we'll do the same thing for the bottom. And we've got one more clip over here. And as you can see, this was holding it in on the bottom here, so when you pull it out, you want to pull it towards you and then get it all the way out. These are the 2 clips here that we're holding it in place on the sides. Now that we've got those loose, there's going to be 2 screws back here holding it in place. You can see them far back. And those are going to be Phillips heads on this one. So we'll remove those and we'll be right back. So we've removed the 2 screws that are down here, the 2 Phillips heads are 7mm. From there, you're going to want to put your hand behind each side here, and you're going to want to pull towards you. There we go. And once that's loose, then you can tilt it down and pull it out. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and unplug everything back here. We've actually got a clip holding these cables back here in, so we're going to use our pry tool to get those back out. As you can see, this is the clip right here, so if you push in on one side, you can pull that side out, and you want to do the same for the other side. In this case, we're actually going to use our clip tool. There we go. And we'll plug that light as well. So now that we've got the display and radio out, we can begin running our wires. First one we're going to start with is going to be our GVMF cable, and that's going to be the one that's got the two blue tips like this and the display cable. So we'll plug this in here, and then this end is going to plug into the display once we put it back in. Now we're going to be putting everything in the glove box, so we're going to be running our wires down there. For now, what we're going to do is we're just going to run everything to right here, and then we're going to run all of our wires together into the glove box. So that'll be good there. And then we'll go ahead and connect everything behind the radio and put our GPS antenna in. And this is our GPS antenna here. It comes out to the 16-pin connector and the 4-pin connector here. GPS antenna. Now we're going to stick it under the dash here. We want to make sure there's no metal in between the actual GPS antenna and the sky. The glass is going to be okay and the little bit of plastic will be fine. There's a good spot right here, so we're going to put it in place above this vent over here and just press down on it, make sure it sticks into place well. And we'll run our wire the same way we did as the display cable. Just like to make sure that everything's not getting tangled up when I'm doing the original run. It'll kind of help later on when we're pulling all of our slack through and cable managing if everything's not caught all together. There we go. So now we have the GPS ran. And we'll go ahead and connect our main harness here. This is going to be the 3.5mm that'll be for the factory microphone, and that'll plug into the V-line. So the 20-pin connector is the main harness for the V-line. That'll plug in there. And then these are our connections we need to make behind the radio. So we'll do that now. Push this into place here, and then you just want to push down on the lock, and you'll feel it lock into place. And then we've got the 16-pin here. We'll plug that in. And that's all the connections we need to make. We'll run this over here. The same way we did the other cables. We're just going to run it up here in this corner. And actually the last thing we're going to run is going to be this USB extension. We're going to be running it over to the driver's side here, so we're just going to run this to the glove box, so we'll just run it around this way. And then we're going to run it underneath all of these cables so it doesn't get caught up when we're trying to install the radio. So for that I'm going to push it down here, and we're just going to stick it out the side over here. And there's a nice spot. You'll be able to feel it when you run that if you go the same way we did. But there's a spot right in the corner over here that leads straight out to the footwell, so you don't have to run it anywhere crazy. Now that we've got that installed, we can go ahead and put back in the radio. I like to plug in the V-line connectors first because they're going to have the most slack. And as you can see, we've got the big one plugged in here and the smaller one right here. And then we can continue plugging everything back in how it was originally. And when you're plugging everything back in, you want to try to get everything together and away from the V-line connectors, just so you have plenty of slack. It makes it a lot easier to plug everything in, and if you ever have to pull the radio back out, nothing's in the way. Alright, so I'm going to start plugging everything in now. Once you think you have everything plugged in, it's good to just do a double check before you put everything back together. Make sure there's no cables that you missed or any plugs that weren't connected. Looking here, it looks like we've got everything connected except for this one. There we go. So now we've got all that connected. We can push everything back in place. I like to grab the slack from the V-line connectors and just kind of push them down below where the radio is going to be. This will help make sure everything seats in place properly, doesn't get caught up on any wires. You want to line up the clips here and here, and the two on the bottom, make sure they're in place, and then just push it in. Now we've got that back in place, we can go ahead and put the screws back in. Alright, now we got the radio in, let's go ahead and do the display next. Since we've already made the connection, we just need to make sure this gets plugged in where it needs to go, right there. This is the power for the display. And make sure you don't forget the airbag light, otherwise you might get a light that comes on your dash saying that it's disconnected or that there's an issue. And now that we've got all of that, oh, this wire actually got twisted up. I'll move it around. There we go. And we're gonna put this clip back into place. And remember, we gotta slide it down in like this, get it in position, and then push it in. So actually got a wire that got caught here. Pull it back out and adjust that. It's actually going behind the display here for some reason. There we go. Alright, that's everything in place there, so we can go ahead and put our Phillips head screws back in. Alright, and now that we got those in place, we can go ahead and put all of our trim back together. We'll start with up here on the display. It's the easiest, and we just finished it. When you put this in, make sure all these clips that are on top go into their little slots. And now that's back in place, we can put our retention clips in. Alright, so we got the display back in. Now we've got all these cables here that we need to run to the glove box first before we actually put all this back together. So we're going to do our cable management real quick, run all these to the glove box, and we'll be back. Alright, so we've ran everything to the glove box now. We've got everything installed in there. We've got all of our slack here. So we're just going to go through and zip tie everything up real quick. The biggest one that you're going to have a lot of slack on is going to be the GPS antenna. So do it first. We've actually got the display cable here, and it's just a little bit of slack, so we'll go ahead and do that. Instead of bending the display cables, I like to do them in a circle like this, so you don't have any harsh bends. Instead of zip tying across the whole bundle, we're going to do a zip tie in the middle, so I'll show you what that looks like. There we go. And so now we get the cables all managed here. We just need to trim that. And this. And then we can put all of our wire right here. It's ran to the V-line. Now I've got everything taken care of there. We can start reassembling. First step is going to be with the clock and the two vents. So it'll be this piece here. Make sure you don't forget this plug. And you just want to push on it in every spot that it goes in until you hear it kind of click into place. Make sure the seam right here is flush with the leather. And now that we've done that, we can put this piece of trim back on here. And you just want to line up these little pegs here with all the holes. And you'll kind of feel it slide into place. Before you press anything down too, you just want to make sure it's lined up. And then you can press it all down. And the last piece is going to be our trim down here. Same thing I mentioned before. These two right here, make sure you get those in the right slots first. And then you can push it into place, get the two top ones in. And there we go. We've got everything reassembled now, and we can go ahead and shoot some footage of how it looks on here.